My name is Jane Kelly. I'm the CEO here at CMAX Clinical Research. Picture yourself walking into your local pharmacy and having a look at the shelves and looking at shelves and shelves of medication. For each of those medications to be on the shelf, there needs to have been clinical trials conducted for all of them. And in the majority of cases, many clinical trials before a product gets to market. So people are often stunned at how long and what's involved in actually developing a new medicine and then getting them to market. And for Australian patients, participation in clinical trials gives them access to new medications, and sometimes where they're only available through clinical trials. And that's for new medicines and new treatments. So it allows early access to new products way before they get to market. So from a safety perspective, clinical trials are required to ensure adequate testing and surveillance is undertaken as part of getting these new medications to market. And the clinical trials are highly regulated, ethically approved and scientifically robust in design to make sure that adequate testing is conducted during the clinical development program. Here at CMAX, without clinical trial participants, we can't conduct clinical trials, and they're pivotal in that discovery of new medicines and treatments. And at CMAX, we're very strong advocates for the raising of public awareness of clinical trials. So clear messaging is needed, an example being that clinical trials are needed for all medicines and treatments and not just for things like breast cancer, which gets a lot of that public awareness and advertising. So we see this Power of One campaign as sending a very powerful message, and we're thrilled to be a sponsor of this inaugural project. CMAX Clinical Research is one of the largest and most experienced early phase clinical research facilities in Australia. So established over 26 years ago and based in Adelaide, CMAX has a dedicated 55-bed unit where we conduct clinical trials in both healthy volunteers and patient populations. We conduct studies in all therapeutic areas and in all sorts of medications, and we're always recruiting volunteers to take part and be an important part of the clinical trial process. We pride ourselves on quality, responsiveness, and helping make Australia attractive as a destination for the world to conduct clinical trials. During these COVID-19 times, we're seeing an increased demand to conduct clinical trials in Australia and in South Australia due to the low incidence rate that we have of COVID-19. And due to this, we are expanding on our number of beds we have available and also doing more with the GPs, so out with the general practitioners and out in general practice as far as taking clinical trials out to the community. So over the last 26 years, CMAX has been involved in clinical trials for a whole variety of companies, both on the international stage and the local companies. During that time, we have helped develop a multitude of medications that you will now see on the shelves. These range from vaccines, both from a pandemic flu vaccine through to seasonal vaccines, through to state-of-the-art vaccines that are now available, a lot of biological products, a lot of pain medications, medications for arthritis, asthma, dermatological conditions, as well as some cancer treatments. So we've been involved in it's exciting. We're right at the cutting edge, right at early phase clinical research. So exciting when these medications do make it all the way through, and only 1 in 10 tend to make it all the way through to market. It's important during these COVID-19 times that we are being approached about medications that are either for vaccine prophylaxis for COVID-19, but also for treatment of COVID-19. But here at CMAX, we see too that it's very important that research continues on all the other medicines. Otherwise, we're going to have a bit of a gap where there's going to be a bit of a gap where everyone's been concentrating on COVID-19 and other medications haven't gone through to full development. So we're still working with all the companies. In fact, we've seen an increased demand, as I said, for Australia is seen as a safe haven to run clinical trials. So we've seen an increase in demand from both the US and from Europe for clinical trials to come into Australia. And during these COVID-19 times, we are looking at risk assessment on each individual study, from looking at what that investigational product is, what the mode of action is, what are any anticipated risks with that medication, and putting it all into context to make sure that the clinical trials are run in the safest possible way.